Hello, my beautiful humans, and welcome to the Becoming Human 2.0 Unscripted Podcast. I'm your host, Paul McFadden, and it's my mission to create global impact by cultivating real connection through having authentic conversations that matter. Today, I'm joined by my special guest, Lauren Borden, another beautiful human residing in Bend, Oregon, USA. In this episode, we take a profound journey through intuition, connection, and human evolution. And of course, this conversation was completely unscripted. Here's a quick peek, and then we'll jump right into the conversation. So enjoy. And remember, we're all here to discover, awaken, and evolve together.
Everyone's talking, no one's communicating. And it's what it actually I think there's this also this like illusion to a degree where everyone's like, well, this was a pandemic problem, or like it's like that, because I think the pandemic exacerbated this, where it's like actually no one was. I think I posted this at one point. I was like water cooler talk was never actually doing the thing that you think that it was doing. It creates the illusion, like certainly there's an element of community that's really important there, but the ability to look at you and be like, Paul, what's been going on in your life? What's happening on a deeper level? How's that been for you? And not flinch and not make it about me or not try to fix it, and actually be with each other, and like also be with all of the things that brings up in me where I'm uncomfortable, that I can't make something better for you. Or
Hello, my beautiful human Lauren. It is such a wonderful blessing to see you today. My gosh, it's been quite a long time. How long has it been?
I know, I think it's been a year maybe, or maybe even more, because it's February. Yeah, maybe a little more than that. I think I probably talked to you last spring. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, so it's going to be great to catch up with you, share in a conversation. Of course, this is all unscripted, so I'm not even sure where it's going to go, but I know it's going to be a lovely conversation because it always is. So, welcome to the show. Tell me what's going on in your world in Bend. You're in Bend.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I just moved. Actually, well, first, I was just going to say that I was thinking about how I think every time we talk, it's actually podcast worthy. Like, even if we're just like, are we swearing on this podcast? Are we allowed to, or how do you feel about
You're allowed
swearing?
to swear. I just put a parental guidance notice up there.
Okay, good. Parental
listen.
guidance. But I was just gonna say, even if we're just shooting the shit, it's like it's podcast worthy. Yeah, and thanks for asking. There's been a lot that's changed, I think, since you and I connected last. I moved from, actually maybe it's even been longer than that, because I think maybe I was in New York when I spoke to you last. I moved from New York to Oakland, California, and then back and then up to Bend, Oregon. I was in Oakland for about a year and have been in Bend since June, and have become one of those like insufferable people who hikes all the time and like rock climbs after work. But it's absolutely, and I say insufferable just because it's like the only thing I know how to talk about anymore. Like, what hike did you go on recently? But I'm having a blast. I think actually the way to put it, I was describing this to a friend recently where I was like, I've been doing all of this work on myself and healing and growth. And like the last 10 years have basically just been like, that's been my whole world and all of my work with other people as well. And it feels like I'm finally in this chapter of my life where actually like things are just fabulous and I'm enjoying them. And I'm like, oh, life is amazing. It's like we talk about be, do, have, and I'm like in the having part, which my life was pretty incredible before, but I'm like, wow, like this is really, really cool. So I'm living life over here. So it's been a minute, but I'm in a good spot. Yeah.
It's been a minute, and I think the last time we spoke, you were moving to California. So it's been longer than a year.
Oh yeah, it has.
Wow. So I have to get to know you again because
I know a lot's changed. It's true. A lot's changed.
a lot has changed. So you're in Bend, you are hiking, you are rock climbing. Okay, so tell me about the rock climbing because that's actually a secret passion of mine. I haven't been for a good year, but I do enjoy it. So, how did you get into rock climbing?
Oh, cool. I think you messaged me that. You saw I had a post where I was, like, on a wall
Mhm.
and somebody took a photo of me. Yeah, so I actually started rock climbing when I was a kid. My brother's 7 years older than me, not many people know that about me, and
Mm.
he's basically a professional rock climber. He probably wouldn't
Okay.
say that himself, but he spent years, like, traveling around and living out of a van basically and, like, climbing every day for hours and hours. Um, and he's very, very good, and one of the ways that we bonded when I was a, like, preteen was that he would take me rock climbing. We went to the Gunks in New York and, like, different rock climbing gyms, but I never lived somewhere where it was, like, readily accessible. In New York,
Mhm.
you can go to, like, the cliffs in Brooklyn, but it's always a little bit of a hike and it's kind of expensive. I don't know. I had a million reasons for not doing it in New York. And then here, like, the winter hits and it's
Right.
like you gotta find some hobbies. And thankfully, Bend, it's wild actually. Like, I don't think I've ever had as many hobbies as I have right now in the dead of winter when it's like 10 degrees outside. So I took it up again a few months ago. One of my friends was like, "Hey, do you wanna go to this rock gym?" And I was like, "Yes." And I went and just got completely hooked on it, and I've been going a couple times a week since then. So, it's been a really great, like, I'm curious about what you love about it, but for me, the reason I got really hooked on it was because it was, like, such a cool thing to do after your day because you literally I can't keep thinking about work. Like, I have to just focus on the wall. It's such a great, like, system reset and exercise and,
Mhm.
like, puzzles and all of that, but it's like it was so good for my mind, I found. But
Yeah.
what about you? I didn't know you like, how did you get into it? What do you love about it?
So I had a friend of mine that was doing it, and I was interested in it as well. And then I went and took some lessons. So here's the deal. Like, so I used to be in the military, and when I was in the Navy, I got injured during Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and that injury challenged me physically. And there were things I couldn't do after that initially, and there were certain things that they told me as a prognosis you'd never be able to do a pull up, you never do these things. And but rock climbing was something that at the time when I was in college, I was interested in doing, and I maybe gone to a couple, maybe one or two climbing sessions, and I enjoyed it then. But then when I got injured, I couldn't do it anymore, and so for many years there were things I couldn't do. At least that was my mindset around that. I believe what the authorities told me, and then the authorities in the white lab coats. But then I met a personal trainer back in 2007, and I began to start working out, and that person really just transformed my life in many ways because I was able to build muscle, gain weight. I was able to do things physically that I wasn't able to do before. And it wasn't really until maybe 22, maybe 23, early 23, where I started wanting to do some of those things again. Like I mean, I've done the gym thing. I was actually on my way to do some competition in some bodybuilding and some all natural stuff. Then COVID happened, so I didn't do that. I was participating in Spartan races, but then COVID happened. I was going to do 3 Spartan races in 2020. That never happened, and so then I lost the desire to do that kind of stuff because it passed, and I had a bad taste in my mouth about Spartan races anyway, because when COVID hit, we all lost our money in the events we were going to, participate in, but they didn't let us do it. They didn't get the
Mm,
money back. So, you know what? I'm not giving you any more money. So, but long story short, I had an opportunity to go climb and I got some lessons and I learned how to do some top rope. And I was like, you know what? This is really cool. And like for me, it's more about accomplishing the thing that I was told a long time ago I couldn't do. Right.
mm,
So it's more about that than anything else. And then I enjoyed it. And like you said, when you're on the wall, you're on the wall.
mhm,
All the other stuff doesn't matter. Now, obviously, someone's got you from a safety and security perspective, but yet, but you're on the wall and you're just thinking about the next step, the next hold, the next pull, and where you're going to go in your path. And I like that idea of that. And it was a way to work out differently too. So that's what I really enjoyed about it. But then I started bouldering. And that was kind of I like the bouldering piece. I mean, it can be a little bit more dangerous, obviously, but
Yep.
I like the boulder. And so it gave me the ability to think about how I use my body and use strength and balance to get from point A to point B. Because you don't have to be the strongest person in the world. You just need to have an understanding about balance and body mechanics.
It's
Yeah.
true. And there's so many, like, small things that go into it and your ability to do it. Like, there are so many, like, little skills that you can build, and especially once you get into
Hmm.
bouldering, like,
Hmm.
different ways of climbing that you kind of, like, can practice that you might not be able to practice on top rope. That's really, really cool. I love that. And I
Yeah.
think that thing you said was so like, so I mean, not relatable on one hand, because I don't think many people have, like, been in the Navy and then had an injury and then had to come back from that. But I think the, like, experience of how motivating it is when somebody tells you that you can't, and, like,
Mm.
coming back from that and the amount of fire that that can create, that's really cool. And I definitely can relate
Yeah.
to that in my own
Yeah.
way, obviously not being in the
Yeah.
military.
Well, you could have been in the military.
Yeah. I do think about that sometimes. I'm like, in another life, I actually feel like that would have been a decision I would have made. But actually, my comparison, I had a really bad ski accident when I was a teenager, and I was a competitive athlete up until that point, and and afterwards, but there was something about being really incapacitated and having it removed where it was like, first you learn
Mm.
to appreciate it so much more, but then also it was like, coming back from it was like so psychological, but then also can create
Mhm.
so much motivation to, like, do to just take on things that you might not otherwise take on. So,
Mhm.
yeah, it can be really, really tough, but
Mhm.
that was what I
Skiing.
was thinking of. Skiing, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
less, like, cool and service oriented and, like, honorable
Hey,
than what was
it's
going on
still
with you.
dangerous.
But
It's
it's
still
skiing is
dangerous.
almost stupid, actually. It was what skiing I whoever thought of that first, "I'm gonna strap these poles to my feet and slide down a mountain," was pretty, but it's fun. I'm happy that they invented it, but yeah, it's almost
Certainly.
a lot of injuries.
Yeah, I watched all the people. So my first introduction to skiing is funny. Is I was 16 and I went on my class went on a ski trip, and I go on the ski trip with my class. And people putting on skis, and I'm thinking what you just said. That looks so stupid. Why am I going to strap these little sticks to my feet and try to come down and pizza? What's the thing? Pizza and what else?
Pizza or french
Um,
fries.
Pizza French fry thing. So I'm like, yeah, pizza French fry. I'm gonna skip that. And then I used to sit in the lodge by the fireplace and just wait and wait for the people to come in and talk to girls when I was 16. So I just did that. That was my ski trip. And then I started snowboarding with my kids. Actually, yes,
Oh,
my
cool.
son introduced me to snowboarding, and he was good, and I was jealous.
Like, "I
And
wanna learn to
so
do that." Yeah.
and I had to get competitive. It's like, you cannot outshine me in something like this with snowboarding. I mean, I didn't know anything about it until he introduced it to me. So I snowboard now, but I haven't been snowboarding now since 2016. It's been a long time.
Oh, wow. Yeah. After my accident, I took about 10 years off. It comes back fast, though. Like, I don't know if
Hmm.
that's the case. I would imagine that's also the case with snowboarding, but skiing comes back pretty
Yeah.
quickly, and that's cool. I always feel like snowboarders are so much cooler than ski. I feel like skiing's gotten cooler in recent years, and, like, you can do like, this year I rented, like, the dual tipped, I don't think that's even the right way of putting it, but skis where you can, like, spin around and ski backwards, and because I wanna learn all that
Mm.
stuff. So, like, you can do cool,
Mm.
like, trick stuff when you're skiing now, which was a lot less popular, like,
Yes.
even 15, 20 years ago, but I always looked at snowboarders and was like, "That's so much cooler. I wanna snowboard," but I was in a ski family, so that was the
So,
so, yeah.
I know what you mean, because everybody that I knew skied, and I was like, I'm snowboarding. You guys can go skiing if you want to. I'm gonna come right behind you on the board. And snowboarding is it's hard.
It
It's
is.
hard. It's hard. But when you master it though, it's like when it clicks in, it's like, oh my God, this
So
is
much fun.
amazing. It's amazing. Do you do both or you just ski?
I do both. I haven't snowboarded since I was a teenager, but I did eventually learn to snowboard. I actually stopped snowboarding because I went with one of my best friends so many injuries I'm referencing. I need to like knock on wood as I'm telling all of these stories. But my best friend Anne, growing up, we learned to snowboard together, and we were learning and we were practicing. And one day we finished, and like we were just, you know, you're falling when you're starting snowboarding, you're just falling and falling and falling and falling. And no one really taught us how to fall. And she said to me, she was like, my wrists really hurt. And I was, at the time, I was sort of like a no pain, no gain kind of like, I hadn't really learned like
Listen
fully
to your body.
listen to your body. Like I hadn't really gotten that lesson yet. So, and I was like, yeah, my wrists hurt too. Like, let's just like pick ourselves up and go to the lodge. Like we're fine. Anyway, fast forward to the end of the story. She actually figured out not only did she break one wrist, she broke both of her wrists.
Oh my goodness.
And so watching her do that, I was like, I think I'm good. Like, I'm just going to
Yeah, I'm
stick.
good.
I think I'm good. I'm going to stick with skiing. But in any case, all of these, I mean, like for me having like different sports like this, whether it was skiing or climbing or whatever, has been such a game changer for me, because I'm a big like gym person. But having something that I'm like, that's cross training, that's more activity based, that keeps you active, is so much different than just like waking up in the morning and going and lifting, or like trying to get your steps or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and Anne is fine. Anne, my friend, is fine now. I don't think she snowboards either, but now I think
That's
she's
someone
done.
either.
But
That's funny.
yeah.
No, but you do bring up a good point. I mean, it's nice to vary the activities. I mean, I think there's a whole thing around, obviously, with physical well-being. It's about moving your body, and sometimes it's not just about the resistance or about the cardio, but sometimes it's just about functional movement and doing things
Mm-hmm.
that keep your body in a ready state to move and lift and twist and bend over and do those things, the things that
Mm-hmm.
we lose the ability to do once we get sedentary. And so I like to vary it up to keep the body on its, I don't know, to keep my body on its toes, so to speak, metaphorically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't know what I'm going to do, but I need to be able to do this. And so you need to respond. And so I think it keeps us younger from a physical well-being perspective. It keeps us at least more agile and active. So I enjoy that. It's kind of like the path I'm on. Like, I've been talking about becoming human 2.0 really for the last
Mm-hmm.
couple of years, and where this podcast was born from. And it really is about how we create more balance emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, consciously, if you will. But I'm more about the ethereal, and there's a difference between the two. But in the different ways we address that. Because I don't know about you, but what I've been seeing, and I'll see in global society, amongst humankind, is that there's an imbalance. In the way we can tell there's imbalance in the world is because we do see conflict, we do see some disparities, we do see the global warming thing. You see migration because of the food deserts that have been created, and when you start thinking about all those things, it's like, if we were just, it seems like we have enough resources on the planet for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There should be, right? I mean, if you look at it just statistically, or just looking at it from a numbers game, we have enough resources, but there's an imbalance. And it doesn't, for whatever reasons, we're not connecting on all levels. And therefore, it's kind of holding back our evolution. That's
Yeah,
kind of how I feel about
I
it.
agree. I completely agree. I think it's a big reason why you and I probably do what we do. I mean, I don't know.
Mhm.
It's a big reason why I do what I
That's
do.
why I do what I do.
But yeah, I think like, it's like, I just got off a call with my co-facilitator and really good friend Chelsea Cotton. We host the Beauty Way retreats together, which I don't know
Mm,
if I don't think I've talked to you about those, but
mm,
I mean, we got in this really big conversation because this morning we taught a group on intuition. It was a group
mm,
of women on like really how to listen to your intuition. How does your intuition speak to you? Like, how do you really cultivate a deep relationship with your intuition? And there was this really beautiful moment where somebody shared something and it became completely evident in the room. It was like, it's so easy in conversations like that to be like, well, my life will be better if I listen to my intuition.
oh,
And
yeah,
it's like, and
mhm,
that's important. Like, that's an important piece, but it's like, there are these elements, there are these like qualities and skills. And yeah, these qualities and skills that when we build them, like we operate so much better as a community and as in terms of our relationships to each other, and like can
mhm.
support each other in different ways. Uh And I don't know, it's like the world I think would be a lot different. I mean, intuition is one example that I am pretty passionate about, but it's like there's so many things like this where it's like the world would be so much better, like, the more we sort of can bring these things online, and then to your point, how do we go
Mhm,
first with it? Like, how do you become the human 2.0? How do I become the human 2.0? Um,
mhm,
and it's hard not to think about that. I mean, with the world the way that it is right now and, like, witnessing some of the things that
mhm,
are unfolding, like, I think it's, like, important to be in these conversations, where we're being curious about, like, what would it look like to shift things? What does it look like to lead in this world right now? Anyway, now I'm getting on a
mhm.
pedestal, but so I'm with you,
Get on
totally.
there. You
Yeah.
can get on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, this is what this is for. This is so if we wanna get on there, we can get on there. I
Yeah,
mean, I
that's true.
look at it like, yeah, so part of my journey on the last 6 months is I've been connecting with people all over the world, which is a beautiful thing, and I've been building some relationships with folks in different countries, just through conversation. So, and I feel like those conversations make an impact, right? Just being able to talk to people that, and I'll just be honest. I mean, I love talking to people from America, but I also like talking to people in Australia or in France or in England or in Portugal or in Peru or wherever the country is, and kind of get their perspective on life in general or the human experience in general. And what's been really refreshing is that there are people all over the world kind of seeing it the same way. And that doesn't, so in one way you can say, well, that's confirmation bias. But I think what's interesting is that, people talk about the spiritual awakening, right? Or this
Mhm.
conscious awakening. And I feel like the more people I'm talking to are having deeper, more insightful conversation around what being human means,
Mhm.
right?
Mm.
And and to me, that's an interesting conversation that I feel like more people should or would be better served to have. I hate saying the words you should do anything. Nobody needs to do anything or should do anything, but it a better service in our experience to really think about who am I, why am I here, and how am I contributing to the progression of humankind. Like, well, what's the evolution going to look like? One of my bigger reasons for starting the Becoming Human 2.0 movement was because being a tech guy, and that was my background before I went into leadership and organizational development. I was a tech guy for like 13, 14 years. And I was the person that's the early adopter. I had the first iPhone, I had the first this, I had the first that, and I always was into technology all the time. But as I started to get more and more clear about how transhumanism was kind of taking over some of the thought processes and patterns around how we can or might potentially evolve, I started seeing the move, in at least my opinion was, I feel like people are moving more towards a synthetic or an artificial
Mm.
evolution.
Mhm.
There's nothing natural about interfacing technology with the biological vessel. I
Mhm.
mean, in science, yes. So, like, if someone can't see and we can help someone see because we gave them a bionic eye, that's amazing. Or can't speak, that's amazing. Or can't hear, amazing. Missing limbs, that's awesome. Maybe we're going to have technology that's going to come up with the cure for cancer, and humans won't do it, but machine learning will. I don't know, right? That's amazing, and that's going to help people live longer and maybe have a more vital life. But then when you talk about let's put the chip in our brain so that our kids' brain so that they can have access to all the information. Well, what about learning? I mean, there's no learning anymore. Like we're just going to give up on
Mhm.
learning and experiencing because when you have access to all the information, you don't even have to have the experience anymore. You can just
Yeah.
read about the experience and you can talk about it from a well, in this book, this person was able to do that and this was their experience. But you never know what the experience is because you not going to do it because you already know.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, and it's
Mm,
like I think it's a lot of these are big statements about, like, what we value as a society. It's like, are we saying that we value output the most? Is that the most important thing? That the learning leads to your ability to use it and, like, generate a thing or, like, operate inside of a system or further a goal that's yours or somebody else's? Or is it or is there something unique and valuable about the process of, like, of learning, of struggling,
mm,
of growing, of exploring yourself, like, having different the actual experiential piece of it? And I think
mm,
one of the things you're sort of speaking to is it's like it would be it's the conversation about technology is really interesting because I know that that's a polarizing one where it's like people are so freaked out about
Mm,
AI and it's like there's so
mm,
much like how do we be about this basically as a society and how do we not let it be abused? But it's like I think so much of the conversation about technology is like it's like it gets away from us, I think, when we get hyper focused on outcome and output as being like our God, basically.
mhm, mhm,
Um and it's like and I think that piece about, like, what it means to be human is, like, an important inquiry because I think if you can see your own humanity, then you can see other people's humanity, and actually being like, "Well, what is the sort of how do we wanna be as a species?" I think just being output based, we've seen where it's gotten us and the planet and literally, like, raping and pillaging, sorry to use the R word, but yeah, the earth, and, like, because we're just trying to extract. So,
trying to
anyway, that's
extract. Yeah.
now I'm really, like, revving up there and going on a lecture, but I think it's an important I think it's a really, really important, like, important inquiry. What actually, I'm sort of curious when you were saying you're like, I've talked to a lot of different people who are asking the same questions about, like, what it means to be human. Like, what are the themes that you hear? Like, do you hear what are the similarities that you hear?
Well, I think there's a couple things. Just innately from a social perspective, there is this hunger, desire for having more connection, but the connection be more authentic, right?
Yeah.
And less superficial. I was having a conversation with a few folks in my incubator, and in the conversation, we were talking about let's say someone who was sick, right? We all look at social media. So and so has 50,000 followers, and on Facebook they have 10,000 friends. This person is sick, right? This is my friend who's sick, and they post on there that hey, my family's, my kids are in the emergency room, da 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 da. Just whatever, and give the experience and prayers, folded hands, all that kind of stuff. And I think those emoji expressions are cool, and it tells people that hey, I acknowledge that I saw that, but I called them. Hey man, is everything okay? What's going on? How is your wife? How are the kids doing? And this is my friend, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, this is someone that I'm connected to that I say that I care about. I love all their stuff, but is that really a connection, or is it we just saying because I have another number, like I have my friend count on my head, like the body count. I got my friend count on my head, and hey, it's all good. But I feel like I like to talk to my friends. I don't know, maybe it's just me,
I don't think it's
but
just
so
you.
that was.
No. But actually maybe, like, they're like, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it's like
Mm.
I think everybody wants it and needs it, but I think we've gotten out of practice with it, basically.
Bingo, right? So we've lost the art of connection. And so we don't know how to do the interaction, or at least it doesn't feel natural to us because it's much easier. It's much easier for me to say, hey, Lauren's doing that. Hey, heart, boom, it's good. I saw it. That's it. I don't need to call you. I don't need to congratulate you, put a heart and send it on, and it's all good. Thumbs up,
Mhm.
and it's done. And I think that more people are starting to realize that I want these connections to be more meaningful than just that. It's
Mhm.
more than just a heart emoji on your post. And it's like a false sense of connection with social media, not really
Mhm.
connected, but it gives initially. Sorry, I remember I had dating myself now. I remember when the MySpace was created. I remember when Facebook first came out. I remember when Instagram was
I
launched.
was around for that. Yeah, yeah. You're not dating yourself.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, and initially MySpace was just an opportunity for people. Like I used it because I was able to connect with my high school friends. And I use that term loosely. Some of them were friends, some of them weren't friends. And,
Mhm.
but I was able to reconnect with people, and that was that. And then the kids got on and they got mad because the parents were on MySpace. So they had to run off and do something else. Then we had Facebook, and then the adults got on Facebook. Now we gotta get off of Facebook. We're gonna go to Instagram.
Uh-huh.
Then the adults got on Instagram. Okay, we're gonna create Twitter. Okay, now the adults are on Twitter. Well, now we got TikTok.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's so funny. Oh, there
I
was
have kids, so I
Snapchat
don't
too. I forgot about
know.
Snapchat. I forgot about that too. So, but I think that we think that because we have high numbers of connections and friends on our social accounts that we have all these friends, and
Mhm.
the reality is I can count on two hands my friends.
Mhm.
And there are people that are acquainted and that I'm acquainted to, and maybe more than acquaintance. Maybe I'm colleagues with some people, but you know, I just want the connections to be more meaningful. And
Mm.
that's the one thing that came up is a more meaningful, authentic connection, real conversation, sensing that there's some kind of spiritual or conscious awakening happening because more people are asking the question, who am I and why am I here? What am I meant to be doing in this
Mhm.
in this in this experience? And there's something terribly off with the experience when you have these polar extremes happen. You have so much suffering
Yeah.
on one side, and you have all this abundance on this other side. At least that's the way it appears, because that's what the media and people portray. I mean, even the social media, it's like we see what people want us to see.
Mm. Mhm.
We show what we want people to know,
It's true.
right? And but if they saw the real me, they saw the real you and your ups and downs, would it be the same? I don't know. I mean, because we're taught that the algorithm needs it to be a certain way so people pay attention. And so it's kind of it was an interesting conversation because I was like, well, I picked up the phone, but I was taught to do that. Like you call your friends and you have conversations with them and you reach out. I mean, I feel bad when we first got in. I said the last time you and I have really talked was been about 2 years ago,
I know, I had
maybe
to
longer
think
than that.
I thought it was a year, but no, it was totally 2 years ago. These
It's
last 2 years have been
2
crazy,
years.
but
It's been 2 years ago. Yeah, because I think I was working on my motorcycle, and it's been a minute. So it was in I was working on my motorcycle in the garage. I remember exactly when I talked to you.
I was walking in Bushwick. I was, like, walking around Brooklyn. I was like, "Wait, I haven't been in Brooklyn since November, like, 2 years ago." Yeah, or a year and a
So
half, year and
yeah,
a half.
so it's been a minute. So it's like yeah, I just but I feel a certain way about that, and I think that's the difference. Like some people are like yeah, it is what it is. I'm like yeah, no, actually, no, I don't really feel like that. I mean, I feel a little sad by that in some respects because it's like yeah,
Yeah.
I could have done a better job. I mean, was really that much going on in my life that I couldn't pick up the phone and say, "Hey, 5 minutes, how you doing? Just checking in."
Yeah, totally. Well, and, like, I think you're speaking to, like, something that I think is so true. Well, first, same, and
Mhm.
also, like, I don't know. It's like the getting in the habit of not reaching out or getting in the habit of, like, relying on social media. And also, we have the illusion of being connected because I think we follow each
Yeah,
other on, like, Instagram
yeah.
or something, and, like,
Mhm,
we'll
mhm,
send stuff back and forth periodically, like,
mhm,
and it's not that that's not valuable. I mean, I think I have a couple of friends where I'm like, they send me, like, memes, GIFs. I never know the difference.
mhm.
Reels, whatever, all the words,
All the
uh,
stuff.
every day, and I'm like, they're funny, and I'm like, "Oh, that reminded them of me," and, like, all of that is cool, but it's, like, actually getting in contact with people. Also, the fact that everything's virtual, but then I actually have an assertion. I feel like most people don't even know how to connect when they're actually with each other. Like,
Oh, no, that you're 100%.
I feel that all the time. Like, I feel that all the freaking time. I remember feeling that as a kid. I feel like I feel that oftentimes in sometimes when I'm working with teams, I'm like, everyone's talking, no one's connecting. Everyone's talking, no one's
Mhm,
communicating.
mhm,
Um, and it's like what it actually I think actually what it I think there's this like illusion to a degree where everyone's like, well, this was a pandemic problem, or like it's like
mhm.
that, because I think the pandemic exacerbated this, where it's like actually
Yes.
no one was. I think I posted this at one point. I was like water cooler talk was never actually doing the thing that you think that it was doing. Like it creates the illusion, like, certainly there's an element of community that's really important there, but the ability to, like, look at you and be like, "Paul, what's been going on in your life? Like,
Mhm,
what's happening on a deeper level? How's that been for you?" Like, and
mhm,
not flinch and not make it about me or not try to fix it, or
mm,
and, like, actually be with each other, and, like, also be with all of the things that brings up in me where I'm uncomfortable that I can't make something better for you, or like we all have
mhm,
our own. There's like this dynamic of things that happens for us when we're in relationship, like true relationship with each other, that's actually a lot to be with, and a lot of people want to tap the mat and jump out, or like go into their
mm,
heads, or like fix or avoid or make small talk. Like, it's easier to make small talk to a degree. I
mhm.
don't think so. I get exhausted by it. I'm like one of those people. But and like And I don't know, I'm gonna make like a really hyperbolic statement potentially, but I actually don't know how we get where we want to go as a society and a collective without that ability. I don't think I think for me, that is actually like a non-negotiable. And I
Mm,
think we're massively under-resourced as a
mhm.
society for being able to like flex that muscle, basically.
Yeah. So thank you for that because I feel the same way. And I'm feeling like that's why I started my incubator to create space for that
Mhm.
because I'm in multiple communities. I sit at multiple tables and interact with different people all the time. And those communities are great communities and they typically focus around an activity.
Mhm.
It's an activity. We share the activity. Because we share the activity, we have that thing in common and we feel connected in some respects, but we're not having existential conversation or thinking about like even pondering the question, what does it mean to be human? We're not having that conversation. We're talking about, oh, how was your meditation or how was your yoga practice? Great. How do you feel about this class? I like this class. I don't like that person. Whatever it is, right? And so it's like all these, like you said, small talk. I'm not a small talk person. The
Mhm.
older I've gotten, the less I can actually tolerate small talk. Like
Mhm.
I don't have ADD, but I will tune out of that conversation in a heartbeat
Oh, I
if it
for sure have
starts
ADD.
becoming.
I do, and
And
I will also
that's right.
tune out.
It wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't a jab at anybody's got
Yeah,
ADD
yeah.
because I wasn't trying to say it in a negative way. So please,
Yeah,
no
yeah.
one take it that way. But it's like I tune out because it's like I want if it's not a meaningful conversation, I kind of don't want to get involved in it because
Yeah.
I feel like it's only so much time that we have in this experience, and I'm trying to use my time wisely
Yeah.
and strategically. And I want to create experiences, which in many respects is interesting because I want to ask you a question about your transitions, right? Because
Mhm.
when I went through my transition, and of course that's been evolving. It wasn't like I went through one transition and then suddenly I've been in this way the last 20 years. I literally, started thinking about purpose and realigning myself to purpose and getting very crystal clear about I'm here to be a voice to provide some inspiration, maybe some empowerment or whatever, provide some insight that help people kind of awaken to this calling that they have within inside them. And what happened was I was on this journey. I even did a TED talk, and I'm thinking, okay, I was doing something. I've got on the purpose journey. I started changing and I started improving myself and becoming a better version. I did a TED talk. I got this great idea. And yet I was not feeling like I was fulfilled just
Mhm.
yet.
I feel like you and
And
I
then I
both
had,
hear this story all the time too, like, people have this
yeah,
experience constantly. Yeah, yeah,
constantly, right?
yeah. Mhm.
And I talked to a spiritual medium. And this was May of 23. In this conversation, this person doesn't know anything about my family, doesn't know anything, didn't know very much about me, certainly didn't know about my childhood and my upbringing and all that kind of stuff. And she says, "So I'm tuned in, I'm talking to your ancestors, but there's a whole lot of people standing in the background." And then the one person just came up to her and she said, "This person wants me to say something to you, but she wants me to let you know that it's your father's mother." And I said, "What's that?" And she goes, "She's explicitly saying, tell him it's his father's mother. He'll know what that means." Now, I'm hearing this from someone that doesn't know anything about my family's history. And so the history behind that is that my father's mother um, basically kind of gave my father an ultimatum, made him choose her or his wife and family. And my father had to make a choice about who he was going to give his loyalties to, and he chose his family. And after that happened, she really was not involved with our family anymore. So I
Mm.
grew up not knowing her. And there was a period of time in the early 2000s where she tried to reconnect with me and my two younger sisters. My sisters met with her, made peace with her, and I refused.
Mm.
And then maybe 2 years after that, she passed away.
Mm.
But I always refer to her as my father's mother. Always. I never called her my grandmother. We go to the funeral. And it's just me, my father, and the older of my two sisters. Both my sisters are younger, but one is the middle sister. Just the three of us at this funeral, and she happened to be in the military. She was Army Corps nurse, I'm going to say. She was highly decorated and highly acknowledged in the military, and she got a 21 gun salute at her funeral. This was a military funeral. And at military funerals, you have all the chairs are like blue, and then there's one chair that's red, and the red chair is for the closest family member to the person who's deceased. And then after the 21 gun salute, the honor guard comes in and they fold the flag that was sitting on the casket, and they put into a nice triangle that fits right perfectly in this case, folds perfectly into this thing, and they hand the flag to the person in the red seat. Guess who was sitting in the red seat? Not my
Who?
father.
Hmm.
So I lose it because I'm realizing the gravity and the heaviness of all that. And I hand the flag to my father, but it was just like, man, and of course I had a lot of regret about that. So here we are, fast forward, this is like 2005. You fast forward 2023, and I'm confronted with my father's mother is now trying to communicate with me.
Mm.
So it got my attention. It's like, you are supposed to build something that's going to have an impact in the world. And I don't understand why you haven't built it yet. You just talked about it last year. The only thing I'd done the previous year was I did my TED Talk, which is where the idea came from. And what am I supposed to be building? I have no idea what I'm supposed to build. How is that? What is it? How? What and how? And then it's like, you're not of this family. You were here. We were sitting here for a reason to do these things. And when are you going to stop wasting your time on the other things and just do what you're here to do? And of course, I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And of course, I never got an answer. So there's that whole confusion, right? So this is May. Fast forward to September, a different medium who was actually from the Maryland area but lives in LA. She kept trying to reach me for like 3 weeks. She said, I need to talk to you. And I was like, about what? And, I just need to have a conversation with you. I'm coming back to the Maryland area, DC area. I got to do some things, take care of my father, but I want to connect with you while I'm there. And we ended up working it out. Somehow it was like the last day she was there, and I was available at like 4:00. We had tea together, and we met at a restaurant. She goes, so I wanted to talk to you. She said, there are people standing behind you. I just want you to know you have your ancestors standing behind you right now. And the woman on your left shoulder says she's your father's mother. I didn't tell her about the first conversation. I lost it in the middle of the restaurant, right? And lectured me about how I'm just not following my intuition, not doing the thing that I'm here to do. And this was like September of 23. Fast forward, I'm trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be doing? What is it? And then
Hmm.
it took a couple months for me to get the clarity, and a lot of things were happening in my life that were good and were not. But I would say it all served a purpose. I had to shed a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
I had to shed some people. I had to shed some beliefs. I had to shed some things that I was working on, and reevaluate and reconnect with, what am I supposed to be doing? And then what happened last year was the incubator, because of what you just said. We're not equipped
Mm-hmm.
in society. We're not equipped, and it's almost kind of like, I know that there are more people that that had just said what you just said. We're not equipped. I know that, and there are people that are thinking the same thing. And it's like I got to find all of them because I think there are enough people. I just think that they don't know that there are more. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? It's like we just don't know that there are more. There's millions of us, probably, but we don't know because we're not hearing each other's message and
Mhm.
not realizing the similarities and the synergies in the sameness in what we're all saying. And because of that, we think that it's not enough,
Mhm.
but there are, right? It's just a matter of saying we need to come more together in a singular community. Do our thing. It's not like
Mhm.
don't do your thing, but we need to come together in community. And with numbers, that message gets louder and louder
Mhm.
and louder. And we all know that's how it works in all of our local communities. I mean, the loudest voices are the ones that get listened to. So it's almost like we need to find those people. That's why I started this podcast because I figured if I say this is what the message is going to be, the people who resonate with that message are going to come. And then it's like, okay,
Mhm.
well, if you're here, let's build that because of what you're saying. Because I felt the same way. It's like there's not enough people, and it's
Mhm.
like in my inner voice said, yes, there are. You just got to find them.
Mhm.
You
Well,
just
and
got to
it's
find them.
like, well, first off, Paul, thank you so much for telling me that. I don't think I've told you this story actually, but when I started working with my intuitive so first, actually, my grandmother and I had this same. My grandmother and my mother didn't talk, so I didn't know my grandmother growing up, and she died when I was very young. And then the first time I
Mm,
ever spoke with a medium, it was like, your father's mom is here, and she just keeps coming back. She's like one of it's interesting, when I meditate and stuff, I can feel her often, and so that's a wild story. And I just realized as you were talking, I was like, "Oh, that's a weird parallel that we both have, like, that I didn't,"
mhm,
you know? Um, but I also think it's like why it's an all hands on deck kind of situation. Because I think the other, like, limiting belief I used to have was I'd look at other people who were doing the same thing, and I'm like, "Well, they're doing like, it's already someone's already got that brand, like,
mm,
someone's already doing that
mm,
thing," and it's like, no, like, actually, we need it's like so much of this is actually about everybody being in their gifts, and, like, we're in a big web, like, it's how we activate it. Like, we wake up and we are in relationship with other people who wake other people up, and I think that
mhm,
they're actually, like, are a million, like, there's so many people waking up right now, and I think that kind of mystical for me, it is also a very, like, deeply mystical
mhm,
component. It's like that this is actually, like, it's a spiritual conversation, and it's like it's also a completely different way of leading. I mean, I think I used to my focus was on leadership in graduate school, and, like, I think often even in the beginning of my career and as a coach, so much of it was like, "How do we lead more effectively?" And I'm like, "No, this is how we lead more effectively." Like like these skills and, like, being on this path and, like, doing what you did where you listen and, like, pay attention to the things that you're not doing, pay attention to the things that you feel called to do, like, be willing to listen to your intuition and explore sort of, like, your inner verse and, like, let it out, and be in conversation with people and community. And, like, also, I mean, community is, like, the only way that this is happening, because, like,
it's the only way it's
not
happening.
yeah,
It's the only way it's going to happen. Mhm.
yeah, like, you can't one person is not gonna do it. It's funny, I heard this spiritual teacher say once, it was like, "Everyone at some point gets the message that they're the chosen one, because, spoiler alert, you all are." Like, it's like, the problem is that our ego, like, grabs onto it, and it's like, "It's me," and it's like, no, it's like
Uh,
all
it's
again,
every
it's everyone,
it,
yeah.
it's everyone, and then, I mean, when you think about it ethereally, I mean, it's we. It is us. We are the chosen one. We all are the chosen one, like, because we are you or me. I'm you. It's just that you're looking at me through a different lens. I'm looking at you in a different lens, and I'm looking at myself. You're looking at yourself, and it's just like this. That's what it is. So you are. I am. We're all are,
Mm.
and sooner we can kind of wrap our heads around that and coalesce around that idea, in community, right? Like you were saying, because it's not going to it's not going to be done by one person. It's going to be done
Mhm.
by the collective. The collective just needs to see that they're part of it.
Mhm. I also love your story about Do you still call her your father's mother?
I have forgiven her and forgiven myself, right? Because different era, different time, she was doing the best she could. I have to believe that, and I don't want to live with the regret of not having made peace with that. So I made peace with it, and I'm good now. So I mean, yeah, she's my grandmother, but I just said no.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make sure I used the right language. Like, I wanted to use your language,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's so beautiful when you get to have that kind of relationship with like, you actually still get to have a relationship with somebody, like,
Mm.
even after they've passed. That's my belief. I know not everybody believes that, but and I also just your story was so beautiful because I got really present to, like, what if our ancestors want us to do like, want us to do this, like, want us to evolve? What if
Oh,
they're all
yeah, they
like
want it.
yeah, they're like,
They,
"Please," like and they're here
they
to
want it.
support, and certainly, I mean, our ancestors have their own stuff and like, they were also imperfect humans, but it's like, I don't know, it's like there's actually so much support here when you're willing to let it in.
When you're willing to let it in. See, I know that when you think about it from a genetic perspective, we have all of our ancestors' genes. They're all there, and they
Mhm,
want us to not make the same mistakes they have made in the past. And there is a thing they want us to evolve. They want us to have the abundance and the success and all those different things that we desire, but they want us to transcend most of that. It's like if you can make it so much better, the experience can be so much better if you can just see that it's better and that your acceptance and allowance of letting all those gifts come out make it that way.
mhm,
It happened that way because you are truly working in that within your gifts. And it's like I talk to people, about purpose a lot, and I look at it, and I certainly look at purpose differently. I'm like, purpose is the same for everybody. It's grow and give. And people argue. We argue back and forth. I say, grow yourself, give to others. How you grow is how you grow and develop yourself. That's your
mhm,
journey. How you give, again, is how you go about doing that. But if you understand what your gifts are and you know what you're really passionate about, your gift is your gift. And as long as you're working in that space, you are working on purpose. You're doing or living on purpose, and
mm,
it becomes less about work and about just being. And then if we're just being and we're loving what we're doing and we're giving and helping and doing all that kind of stuff and growing, then the work that we're doing is really just the expression of love in physical form.
mm,
Because we just need to be that. And all this other stuff is just noise
mm,
and distraction. I mean, we're not even seeing what's happening in reality. I mean, just from a biophysical perspective, we only see this much in the light frequency. What else is happening around us that might be more important than what we actually physically see? We have no idea. I mean, we don't even know what reality is. And honestly, if you really think about it, we perceive what we think reality is by weaving together the stories and the experiences of the past based on the data that we can take in right now. We fill in the blanks and make that story up. We decide that this is the story.
mhm,
Um, and there's so much more happening beneath the surface. It's just that we're just not tuned in. Some people are more tuned in than others. I will believe that some people are more tuned in.
mhm.
Uh, but we all have the ability to tune in. It's like can we teach people how to tune in? Let's do that. Let's teach people how to tune in, and
Yeah,
yeah, and then we all collectively see more, and then we can collectively make a decision about what's the rest of the experience going to look like. And I know there's a craving for more, right? There's a craving for more. I mean, I'm all about experiences now. To me, I'm like, don't give me anything, don't buy me material stuff. I don't need all that stuff. It's experiences. It's
mm,
experiences,
mhm,
and let's have that. I like to be around people who want the experience of enjoying that, being human, and when everything that means. I mean, yeah, we're going to have pain and we're going to have trauma and we're going to have hurt and loss. We'll have all those things, but you're also going to have joy. You're going to have appreciation and gratitude and love, and passion, and all that too.
yeah, it's funny. One of the things I'm thinking of, Paul, as you're speaking is like, I think because I also work a lot with people who are like, they want to, like, they're very purpose driven. they are craving more purpose and meaning. And I also went through that where like I like finished my PhD and I mean, I think it's so funny even describing what felt like the mountain to me because it was like 26 and I finished my PhD. And now I look back on it, I'm like I can think of like 10 other mountains that I could climb if I wanted to. But at the time, that's like what my ego does. But
Mm.
at the time, it was like I just did this huge thing and I feel completely empty. Like what is this? And so like the next few years became about purpose and service, and I think that that's really I think that that's crucial. I'm not negating that. I think that that's actually
Mm.
like the conversation that we all, again, I don't want to use the word should, but I think the world would be better if we all were sort of
Mhm.
like there was more space to us to be in an inquiry around that. But there's like this thing that happened. There was this tipping point where eventually through doing that work my life got good enough where I was like, "Oh, this is why we're here." Like, it's like for the whole range, like, can we be with the whole range of the human experience? Like, be
Yes.
fully alive. Like, what is that? There was some statistic I read where it's like there I don't even know what the exact figure is, but like the number of ancestors that needed to exist for you to be on the planet, like, and your probability of being alive
Mhm.
is so small. And like can you actually like can we be fully in our experiences and in our lives, even the really hard shit, like even
Mhm.
the like, oh my god, I didn't have that last conversation with my grandmother, even the like,
Yep.
oh my god, like the loss, the grief, even the like looking at the state of the world and being like heartbroken by how we are
Mhm.
with one another. Like what if that's also the point? Like,
Mhm.
and so I don't know. It's like for me, so much of it, it's about like how do I, and I say we because it's my work, but like how do
Mhm.
I keep expanding my capacity to hold it all?
Mhm.
And like I don't know, maybe that's as I say that, I'm like, that just might be my purpose. But but that might just be mine. I don't have to project
Mm.
it on everybody, but I'm just like,
Mm.
I just think there's so much around that, and there's so much that's possible when we're able to do that and like do that together and as a collective. And yeah, I don't know where I took it, but that's what was coming up for me.
No, no, I think it's interesting because I think that the how is always different for each of us, right? But it's a universal it's a universal purpose to have that full range of experiences and emotions with the experience, right? We're supposed to experience all the things I listed: pain, fear. We're supposed to experience all that.
Mhm.
Suffering is optional, though, right? And so when we find ourselves in a place of
Mm.
suffering, we're choosing to suffer because we can change that. We're the architects of this.
Mhm.
And when we choose not to do something about the experience that we're having and to live in, own it, become it, that's a voluntary suffering that would probably best serve us if we stop doing. Oh, you mute.
Dog is barking. So
Yeah.
he's alerting me to the existence of the UPS guy. That's what's
Oh, yeah.
that's what's
That's
happening. He's we don't
mm,
need a doorbell around here. We just have a very cute rescue dog. But
you gotta
um
keep messing with the
and
alarm
we is
system.
just me. But no, actually it's funny as we were talking, I was like, "Oh, we're speaking we're I don't this is getting maybe very meta, but I feel like actually we're sort of speaking to like the masculine and feminine components. Like you're very
Mm,
much speaking to the masculine of like we get to architect our reality and like the purpose and the vision and like sort of where are we going, and I'm sort of
mm.
like what's the experience, like there's like this like very feminine like what's the experience, how do we like actually I'm reading this really great book, it's called Awakening Shakti, and it's all about,
Don't have it, but I've heard that book.
oh, have you it's
I I
great.
I I haven't read it, but yes, I've heard of it.
It's incredibly powerful, and it's funny, I read it in reverse, which was stupid maybe, but I,
Mm,
like, I read a couple of chapters that called to me, and then I, like, went back and read the introduction, so I'm going back and reading the introduction now, but so much of it
mm,
is on how, like, life and beauty and the divine is, like, literally in everything, and that's actually, like, a tantric practice, is, like, being able to, like,
mhm,
descend into pain, descend into, like, heartbreak and like find the divine in it. And like, and also then there's this component of like choice and structuring, and that we get to like, we're the creators of our reality, and like it's all true.
Mm-hmm.
um that book is incredible, by the way. That has been like a huge game changer. Like, so for those who are listening, Awakening Shakti is a book by Sally Kempton, where she's a tantric practitioner who goes into the different Hindu deities of, or the deities of the Hindu pantheon,
Mm.
particularly around the divine feminine like iterations, so the female deities. Um, and like the energy and it's like archetype work, and the archetypes of each of them, and how you can work with each of them, and ways they show, and also like how they show up when they're out of balance and when they're in balance. And it's just a really powerful book, because it's sort of like you can read through and be like, oh, this is an energy that I like really have a lot of and like want to hone, or you can be like, this is energy that I really like want more of, and like how do we sort of work with
Mm-hmm.
these energies in with reverence, and like giving on like honoring the culture from which they come, and all of that in a way that has a lot of integrity. So I highly recommend that book. It's a great book.
I love it. I love that. No, that, as you were talking, I was thinking, it is there is a divine masculine, a divine feminine, and it really is. We've been in these extremes, and what we really need to do is find balance. So I think what we don't need to swing all the way over to the other side. I think we need to stop swinging and come right in the middle, right, and balance it out. I think we could do that if we understood how it all interplays together.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we get so singular minded. We think it's got to be one or the other. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
the divine masculine and feminine exists in all of us,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the reason why we see the imbalance is because we're imbalanced.
Mm-hmm.
Individually, we're imbalanced. And so collectively, we're imbalanced. And so we see the imbalance in society because we are confused about how to find balance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so true. It's actually the word I really like to use is like integration, like masculine and
Hmm.
feminine integration. And I think like for me, I actually am curious, maybe you have a different take on this, Paul, but for me, I'm like, sometimes the swing is part of how we find balance. It's like sometimes it actually takes, it's like, oh, I've been way living on the yang, like, or divine masculine side. And it's like, okay, what's it like over here? If I and then we learn to find the middle. We learn to find the sort of like
Hmm.
chemical makeup of and like experience of what it's like to have both in balance. And like it's sort of like having a stew, right? It's like if you add too much like lemon, and then you have to like you add too much acid, so you have to like balance it out with sugar or something.
Exactly. Hmm.
And then eventually, like, maybe it's a bad metaphor, because eventually, like, if you do that enough times, you just have to like start over, because the stew just tastes really bad, which is maybe what we're seeing in the world.
Maybe that's what it is. The stew just tastes really bad, man, because we added too much this side and added
Like,
too much that
it
side.
was it's just like
It's like,
this
can we find the perfect recipe, please,
this
and the
is
right
just
blend?
repulsive, actually. But
Oh,
yeah, and like I think that kind of inquiry actually, and I work with a lot of women who are and men actually in that space, because a lot of my work is around the like really exploring and integrating and healing the divine feminine. And there's always this moment where after doing that, it's like, oh, now I feel whopper, like sort of whopper jawed. And it's like, yeah,
mm,
that's because now there's like this other thing that you then need to like
mhm,
reincorporate and heal. And because we can't have one without the we see what that's like to have one without the other in the
yeah.
world right now. Like and the inverse is not necessarily the thing. Yeah.
I like how you say that. So here's my I'm wondering now. So as much as we have seen as a collective, at least the way it appears, as different nations or dynasties or societies have come into power and perceived power, I, I I just wonder, we've been through these cycles before over thousands of years. We've been through these cycles. And it's almost kind of like, but I'm just going to say it this way. It feels like we've been trying to erase history. So because we're trying to erase history, we're losing the historical record of when this has happened before.
Mm.
So basically, it's like we've been here before, but we don't realize we've been here before because in the past, we've done a good job of trying to erase the record. And
Yeah.
so we're going to keep repeating this as long as we keep trying to change or erase history. It's like it's almost like if we knew the truth, we probably would come out of this pretty quickly and create this new society. And it's like,
Mhm.
I mean, if you believe in Atlantis and you believe all the ancient societies where there were supposed to be these utopias and all that kind of stuff that existed, and we find these cities that are flooded underwater, hundreds of feet down. These environments existed, and then we had to then try to extrapolate what happened, but there's no history really that's there. So it's like, what if that we were already there and they did find the balance, but now
Mm.
we erased it, and so we have to go through this trial and error again, and we're going to come to the same thing where we're just going to change positions and change, go from one side of the pendulum to the other side, and never really get to the middle because we never realize it. Because what happens when a society falls? We erase it.
Mhm. Well, it's funny 'cause not funny, but it's the thing I'm thinking of is how, like, nobody really likes to keep track of their, like, unforced errors. Like, I used to be a tennis player, and it's like, that's
Yeah.
not what you want. You don't want you wanna focus on, like, the aces. You wanna focus like, you always that's, like, the stuff that you wanna measure, right? And so it's, like, totally it's so human to try to obscure history, try to, like, paint it in an overly positive light. Like,
Mm,
that's so human, and there's a concept like, and you're talking about some, like, more esoteric and, like, mystical examples of this, but it's
mhm.
like, there's a consequence of this. We don't get to learn. Like, if
There's
I
a
don't get to,
consequence to this.
like,
Mm,
when I was playing tennis, if I was like, I had like 10 unforced errors where I hit my backhand in the net. I can't go like I hit my net or hit the net every single time. What's happening? I'm not bending my knees
mm,
enough.
mhm.
Like I'm lifting my head up too fast. Like you can like diagnose and we can learn, right? From the
Yeah.
thing. I think also you started that with like here's a question, but then was there a question? I want to make sure I'm not missing the thing. If there's not, that's okay.
Oh, there probably was a question in there. So I sort of see. I- we always have these conversations, and I just feel like time. First of all, where did time go?
Yeah, it went really fast. Yeah, yeah.
Where did it go? But no, I think I was just wondering that have we been here before, and just because our nature has been to
Mhm.
erase history, maybe the clues were already there, and but because we've done a good job as humankind to erase the past
Yeah.
as though it didn't happen, that we continue to repeat the cycle because we keep erasing it. We keep trying to erase it like it didn't happen, like it didn't exist. And we could probably come to the right conclusions very quickly if we had access to that information.
Yeah. I think there's something to that. It's funny, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I feel like even just, like, the inquiry is really powerful for people to hear. I don't know that I have an answer to that. And
Right.
it's like, there's so many things where I'm like, right here for me, I'm like an astrology I'm, like, really into astrology, so it's like the age of Aquarius. Like, Pluto just moved into
Yes.
Aquarius. Like, there's
This
so
is the
many
age of
things that have been
Aquarius. There's so many
a
things.
really long time since, like, we've had all of that kinda stuff, but I also do really think about, like, what's happening in the world literally wanting to talk about our history as a country in a certain way, not wanting to dwell on certain scars in
Mhm.
our past. And like, I don't know if we've been here, but I do think we've been in enough places where if we really looked at the things that didn't go well, like looked at our unforced errors, we would probably be able to deduce like some
Mm.
things, you know? Like we would have there's wisdom in those. There's wisdom in our failures. There's wisdom in our darkness. There's wisdom in our face plants. Like,
Exactly. And
yeah.
and sometimes I think we probably should explore that even further. And I see that we're at time, and I want to make sure that one, you got to come back because we need to finish this conversation.
Yeah.
So that's a definitely must do when you get the let's figure it out. Um, but let's pause with a thought, and I just want to get it from you. We've talked about a lot of stuff, but if there's one takeaway from our conversation, that if you had to just choose one, what would you want people to take away from this conversation? And with the promise that we'll have a part two.
Yeah. I think it was the piece that you reflected, like, halfway through where you said it was like, we aren't equipped right now, but we actually are equipped. Like, it seems like we're not equipped, but we are equipped, and it's actually just that everybody needs like, we need like, everybody needs to realize that there are many more of us than we think. And it's actually about
Mhm.
like bringing everybody's gifts fully online. Um, yeah. And I'm really present to that. And then like everyone's like ancestors, like standing at their back, like actually how much is here when we allow space for it and pay attention to it. So, which I
Yeah.
credit to you and your grandmother, because I feel like that's a message that was very, very clear in your experience reconnecting with her. It's so present, and it's like that was for you, but that was actually for everybody. It's like we're all, hey, come on,
Mm.
like let's go.
Go. Let's
Yeah.
go. Yeah, let's do that. Lauren, thank you so much for the beautiful conversation, for connecting, for raising your hand, for being on the show, your insights, your perspective. I always love to have conversations with you because I feel like I'm going to learn something new, which I do. But that we get to share in this space in this present moment. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Paul, for having me. This was so lovely to talk to you, and I'll definitely be back.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. That's it for now. Let's all remember that we're all here to discover, awaken, and evolve together. I look forward to seeing you all soon.